Last week, in a beautiful hotel in the south of England, I presented to our clients what I'm about to share with you on this board. The sort of clients that come to our regular quarterly events are all sorts of business owners, but predominantly people who are self-employed solopreneurs and people who work with their spouse, work with a small team. That's the sort of businesses that I'm talking to on an ongoing basis. I have been for the last 35 years. It's what I specialize in. And during this time together last week, my presentation was entitled The 4 Steps to Success. And I wanted to sort of frame it in such a way that I could give them, do these 4 things and life will be a whole lot easier. And it was also presented at the end of the day. They'd already had a lot of information presented today, so I wanted to be gentle towards the end of the day, but also give everybody something you could just take away. And that's what I want to share with you in a second, is just these 4 simple steps, and they are simple, that often as business owners, we rush off at 1,000 miles an hour doing the thing that we're doing all day. And we sit there and we say to ourselves, look, I wanted to be here by now, but I'm only here. It seems to be all taking a lot longer. This is the money I wanted, but this is the money I've got. And there's always a bit of a gap to what we think and where we think we should be with our business, with the success of our business, and reality. And sometimes we ignore reality and live in the la-la land of hope, in the sense that it'll get there one day if I just keep going. And I tell you what, I need to work harder and harder and faster to get there. And I think that's what drives some people, is that need to get somewhere faster and work harder, because that seems to be a logical conclusion. It's something you have control of, is to go as fast as you can, as hard as you can. But it has consequences. And these 4 steps, I'm hoping, will give you a framework to say, well, if I do step 1, 2, 3, and 4, then actually, maybe I can actually improve my business. Maybe I can make a bit more money and have an easier life, which is pretty much what I stand for. Also, it'll bring you some clarity as well, because one of the things that we have running our businesses, and I'm a business owner too, is that we get overwhelmed and we get anxiety and we get stressed and we get worried and we get a bit depressed sometimes, all these different feelings that we have from time to time. And when I work it back, is that the reason we have those uncontrolled emotions, because they do feel a bit like you're out of control sometimes, is because we're lacking a little bit of clarity. Because if you knew that between now and the end of the day, or now and the end of the week, you had these 3 things to do, and if you did those 3 things, it would guarantee some success. Well, you just do those 3 things because, well, of course it's going to guarantee. But because there is no guarantee of your success, we overthink things. So if you've got some sales calls to make, you know that the more sales calls you make, the more likely you're supposed to get a yes, right? The more likely you will get a yes. So we make 3 phone calls and then we complain that the sales system doesn't work because we got 3 no's. But if you made 300, I can guarantee you'll get some yeses, because along the way you'd get frustrated and then you'd question your sales script and you'd question how you present yourself. And those little tweaks and measurements and changes that you make along, you would improve. And by the time you've done 300, you'd be pretty good. And your confidence would change and your results would change. And you'd then have some data that says, do you know what, if I make 300 phone calls, you might get 1, 2, 3, 10% result. Great. That's a bit of clarity. Then it's just a case of doing those numbers. And I'd use that as an example. It can be applied to anything. So this isn't just about sales. This is about running your business. So the first thing that we talk about, and we talk about this as part of our 90-day business breakthrough program as well, and that is, the first thing we want to talk about is we want to talk about what our vision is. What is it you're trying to do? What does the future look like? And I ask this question because a lot of people don't know. And one of the easiest ways to find out is to write it down. If you would write down what your future would look like, describe it, often people will write down 1 or 2 sentences. But in your mind, you know that you want lots, but when you write it down, it's like, oh, it's not very clear. Because actually, the things that we want and particularly the physical things that we want, but also the emotions and the feelings and the relationships that we want, we do think about it a lot, but it's dealt with in a different way as we think versus actually writing it down. And so there may be relationships and family. You might, and here's an example, you might not be married and you might not have children, but you might have a goal to one day be married and one day have 3 children. Okay, that could be a goal or a dream of yours. That's how you would imagine your life to be. Okay, when? In the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? When? Oh, I haven't really thought about it, just some when. Okay, and that's okay. But the point of the vision exercise is to actually start having a bit of a map, have a bit of a plan. You won't be able to say, oh, I will have children at this time or at this time or this time necessarily, just like you won't be able to say, I'll buy that house, I'll buy that car, I'll have this sort of rewards, I'll reach this sort of profitability level, unless you actually start to plan. And if you do start to plan, you'll then get a sense of where that's likely to happen. And on the reverse side of that, I will have people say to me, I want to do £1 million next year. Great. And your sales this month is? Oh, I did £3,000 this month. Well, the gap between where you are today at £3,000 for sales versus £1 million a year, which is roughly about £85,000 a month, it's a big gap. And therefore, what have we got to do to close that gap? Well, actually, you may well get to £85,000 a month, probably not by next month, unless you've already done a bunch of work so far that you can see there's a launch or something's going to happen next month, right? The transition between where you are and where you need to be may be a little bit longer. And it's only when you start mapping this vision out, starting putting some dates next to it, gives you some idea of what needs to happen in between. Because let's say you wanted to achieve £1 million worth of sales and you're at £3,000, maybe the goal to get to £10,000 should be the first goal. And then get from 10 to 20 should be the next one. And then maybe 20 to 40 and then maybe 40 to 80 and do it in incremental steps. Partly the reason for that, and you might learn this from just bitter experience, is you set a goal and you fail. And you set another goal and you fail, and you set many goals and you've failed many times. It can be very disheartening, to the point where you then say, well, what's the point in setting goals? They don't work. Well, they do. It's just that the goal you set was so big versus where you are. The gap was so big between where you are and where you want to be that you couldn't sustain the energy and the momentum and the motivation to keep doing that goal. If you were trying to lose some weight and you were 5 stone overweight, to go from 5 stone to the weight you are, that's a big goal. But if you could lose 3 pounds this month, and you worked on that and you achieved it, you go, oh, achieved £3. Well, you can do that again, and you can do that again. And therefore it becomes a little bit sort of manageable. So the point of the vision is to simply say to ourselves, here is a timeline, and over the next 3 to 5 years, this is a picture of what my life would want to look like. And you can do this with writing. You could do this with, one of our clients did a mood board. They put themselves in the middle on a I don't know what they use some digital tool for this, and they put pictures all around the outside. You could do it with a big sheet of paper and cut some articles out of magazines, print some stuff off the internet and go, that's the sort of house I'd like to live in, that's the sort of car I'd like to live in, that's how my relationship would look like, that's how my health, my body would look like. And you start painting a picture of what needs to change over time as a vision of what you're trying to do. And one of the things that we do is we do something called a hot pen technique, where we simply sit for, say, 25 minutes, set a timer, and then imagine yourself in the future, say 5 years down the line, and say to yourself, today is, and put the date 5 years in the future, my life is perfect. I am feeling happy and grateful because I have, and then fill in the blanks and describe your life. Now, when you do this and you start writing, your brain will stop and you'll go, I don't know what else to think. So you just continue to write. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write. And then in that continuation of writing, and this is the trick, is to not stop, to not take your pen off the paper, just keep writing. Your brain will unlock some thoughts that were perhaps buried from when you were a child, buried from when you were a teenager. All the things that you've thought about in your entire life to date will start coming out. And you want to brain dump all of those ideas that you've ever had, however wacky they might be, and say, oh, I could achieve this in the next 5 years. Because an awful lot of people don't dream big enough. When people do this exercise and they write it down, I say, oh, okay, if you won the lottery and you won all the money you needed to build that vision, to buy the house, the car, the holidays, the lifestyle that you want, the vision of your future, how much do you need? Some people will say, well, 100 grand, £100,000, or they might say £1,000,000. Over 5 years, that's not a lot of money. Okay? Even if it took 6 years, it's still not a lot of money. So we can spread it out and say to ourselves, actually, the thing that I want amounts to this sort of value. And you'll often find you just aren't dreaming big enough. But regardless of whether you're dreaming big enough, the fact is this vision is actually really important to step one, because it takes our mind from looking back on the past and all the things that didn't work and looking at other people's lives to facing that way and going, that's what I want. That's the path I'm heading. That's the where I need to go. And if we take that vision and we identify all the things that we want and we go, yeah, here's all the things that I want, what we'll be able to do is identify that there's some pegs in the ground, some steps on the way that say, well, actually, I need to do this today and this in say 3 months' time and this in a year's time to get close to that goal. So, for example, if we took growing your business and you said, well, actually, my sales are this figure now and I want to treble, quadruple my sales in the next 5 years, then you're going to need more customers, or you're going to increase your prices significantly, or a combination of the two. So what have you got to do? Maybe you've got to do more marketing. Maybe you've got to run your numbers and your budgets more detailed. Maybe you don't know how to do that. Maybe you just aren't a very good salesperson because you haven't been doing it long enough. Maybe actually the problem is your skill set. So back here, you might say to yourself, well, over the next 3 months, I want to change my skills. I want to go and learn how to do something. So when I set up this YouTube channel, I sat there for quite some time learning about how to set up a channel, how to stay within the rules and that are written down by YouTube. What are the rules? I didn't understand them. I don't know what the rules are. I need to go and study. What do I need to do with cameras and equipment and lighting? And because I'm doing all this myself and I'm doing my best and I know I could be better, but before I didn't even know how to do any of it. So I had to learn. And when you start on your journey of learning a new skill or a new habit, you realize that actually you might need 3, 6, 9 months, because while you're doing that, other things are happening in life. You might find that you've got a business that's running at a certain level and has reached a maximum capacity at what you can do for that level. Maybe you're the only person that provides the service and you charge an hourly rate for that service and you're beginning to max out. So you might need to employ somebody and therefore you need to get more work in for them to do, but you also need to train them. You also need to get them to understand and then you realize that you don't really have any systems and processes. You kind of make it up as you go along because you kind of know what you're doing. And so the business then changes from being you on your own doing everything to actually employing people. And the moment you employ people, it's a whole different game. You then got to change from being the person who does the task to actually being a leader, somebody who can lead and teach and set examples and trust other people to do the thing that you have always done very well. So these things take time. They take time to employ people. You might say, I need a new member of staff. Great. That might take you 6 months before you find that right person. And then another 3 months to train them up. And then another 3 months till they're really up and running and you're getting return on investment. That's why employing people could be so expensive. The onboarding process, the finding the right person can take blooming months. Okay, but these are things that have got to be done as part of your journey. So what we do is we identify our vision for the future and then we chunk it back. This is what I want in 5 years. This is probably what I want in about 2 years' time. This is where I should be along my journey in a year's time. This is where I could be in 90 days. If that's where I'm going to be in 90 days, now I can work back and work out where I need to be at the end of the month, where I need to be end of the week, what I need to do today. Okay, so we start chunking that vision into from vision all the way back to the simple next task I need to do. So that's step one. Step two is something we call identity. Identity. Your identity is the person you are. And if the person you are today has the lifestyle that you have today, and you need to change that lifestyle, you wish to change that vision, you need to live in a better house, drive a better car, go on different holidays, experience different things in life, grow your business from this size to this size, what you will find is that you will probably need to change as a person. You will need to change your identity, your thinking. Somebody who's running a business on their own with no staff is a completely different person to somebody who's got maybe 10 staff. A person with 10 staff sees themselves as a different person than somebody who's doing everything themselves. They see the way they operate, the way they handle themselves. Maybe even their title changes. Maybe it changes from I'm the person who is the architect or who is the designer to actually I am lead design, or I am managing director, or I am CEO, or whatever title you want to give yourself. You have to learn to change the person you are. And one way to do that is to just look in something like your LinkedIn profile or your Facebook profile and change who your title is, change what it is you do. Sometimes when you just do that, I don't imagine myself as a CEO. I don't imagine myself as the lead designer, or maybe you do. But we've got to work on our identity, and we've got to work on the sort of person and the behaviors and the way that we operate. So if you're operating a business on your own and you're sitting in your office all on your own and nobody's around, well, you can show up exactly how you want to. And that's sometimes liberating. You can just do whatever you want to do. But if you're in an office and you've got 10 members of staff, the way you conduct yourself, the way you turn up, the way you show up might be slightly different, in the sense that you want to motivate and encourage and help and support your team. Because if you don't, they might decide to leave and you're back to square one again. You've got to find somebody to help you. The whole purpose of a job is to make money out of that job. You need to employ somebody to do a task that you perhaps shouldn't be doing in order to grow your business. And we cover this in one of our exercises, and I'll maybe do a video on this. They're £10 an hour jobs, £100 an hour jobs, or £1,000 an hour jobs. If you are the boss of your business, you should be doing £1,000 an hour jobs, the things that are most important. And the £10 an hour jobs, and even the £100 an hour jobs, you can delegate those to somebody else. Otherwise, if you find yourself doing nothing but £10 an hour jobs, you are not going to increase your income. You are not going to achieve your vision for your lifestyle, because the money won't be there. You're doing things that you shouldn't be doing. It's not that you couldn't do them. It's not that they're beneath you. It's just it's not your job anymore. It's your job to hand them off to somebody else who will probably do the job better, so that you can get on doing other things. So one of the things I talk about in terms of accounting is you will have bookkeeping within your business. It's a necessary requirement, and you might have to do all your bookkeeping yourself. Great. Okay, I'm an accountant. I can do my books myself, right? I can do the job really, really quickly. Should I be doing it? What I mustn't do is delegate the responsibility, but what I can do is I can delegate the bits that somebody else can do. So putting the data into the system, putting the invoices in, putting the purchase invoices in, putting the payments and receipts in, somebody else can do that. Somebody else can reconcile it. Somebody else can run the reports. Give me the reports. Now I've got the responsibility of understanding this. Now I've taken my time input from maybe 10 hours worth of work down to an hour's worth of work, because I've paid somebody else to do the other 9 hours. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? It's an important thing to understand what your identity is. So you're going to find within your identity that you are the person you are today, and you need to change to somebody in the future. What that change is, I don't know. But it starts off with understanding who you are now, really understanding about all the different aspects of life. How do you show up as a person with the people in your life? Are you positive, motivational? How do you show up in terms of your skill set? How do you show up in terms of your time management? How do you show up in terms of your belief levels around your pricing and your positioning? Are you positioning yourself as the leader of your business, of not just of your business, of your industry? Are you an industry leader? Because if you're not, then maybe you need to think about that identity shift, because that identity shift will help you achieve the vision that you want to achieve. So the two go hand in hand. So that's number 2. Number 3 on the little old board here, just get the right color, is nothing more simple than action. And I don't mean action for the sake of action. Okay. I know lots of people who get up in the morning, pick their phone up, start doing their emails, start doing their text messages, their WhatsApp messages, go, have a shower, get themselves ready, breakfast, go out the door, and they still are doing this at 100 miles an hour all day, every day, from 6 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, working hard. Some people call it hustle, and hustle is good. You've got to hustle sometimes. You've got to hustle sometimes. But what we're talking about here is the right action versus the wrong actions. We can all be busy fools. We can all be busy doing £10 an hour tasks, feeling very proud of ourselves. I got all that stuff done, when in reality, you didn't do the thing that's on the list. And one of the tests that you can do is you can look at your list of things that you've got to do, and you can grade them, and you can go, okay, these things here are A grade things. If I do these things, it will shift the needle. It'll make a difference to my business. It'll make a difference to my life. If I make those sales calls, if I do those follow-ups, if I go to those meetings, if I attend those things, that's what will make a difference. And then we've got a bunch of other stuff that it really don't make a difference whether you do it today or tomorrow. Now, some things have got a deadline on it, obviously, but essentially there's a lot of stuff that are not that important. And so when you grade them out of A, B, and C, you probably only got 2 or 3 things in the A grade. Probably about 20% of the work that you've got is really, really, really important. But what we tend to do as human beings is look at our list and go, right, I've got 80 little things and 20 big things. If I get rid of all these 80 things, I can get them all done by the end of the day, and that'll be a big part of my list cleared, and all those distractions will be gone, and then I can get on and do the really important things that I'm supposed to be doing. Guess what happens? You finish the 80 things, and when you go back to do the important things, you either have no energy because you're knackered, okay, you've lost the will to live because you've been doing all this dross, or you come back to your desk the next day and there's another 80 things on your table, right? You never get to those things. So we've got to change our priorities. And this again is part of changing your identity and focusing on your vision. So if you sit there and you say, okay, this is my goal up here. This is my number one goal up here. And I work on my identity of who I'm going to become to achieve that goal. This is the person I'm going to achieve. Excuse my scribbles here, but I'm just trying to sort of talk and draw here. But this is the person I need to do those goals. Then what actions must I take? Well, I must take the right actions to do those goals. I must take those right actions to achieve those goals. Because otherwise, I'm going to get caught up in this stuff, which isn't going to take me towards my goals. And so I'm hoping what you can see here is that if we take this simple 4 steps, we can say, understand my vision, understand my goals, get a bit of clarity, work out what track I'm going on, what road I'm going down. Who do I need to be to get there? Who's the person on the other end who lives in that nice house, who drives those lovely cars, who goes on all those holidays, who has the family, the lovely family? Something that I experienced a few years ago was suddenly finding out that I was going to be a grandfather. Okay, we have 3 grandchildren at the recording of this. So my identity shifted. I had to really think about this. Being a grandfather, I was like, I don't even know what that feels like. It feels weird. Okay, just as it feels weird sometimes being a parent. You're just like, I don't know how to figure this out. So I identified that I wanted to be the legendary Grandpa Kev. And that's my identity. When I'm with my grandchildren, I want to be the legendary Grandpa Kev. The kids all call me Grandpa Kev, and I want to be the legendary Grandpa Kev, and I visualize in the future, long time in the future, when these kids are all grown up a bit, and they see me as the legendary Grandpa Kev. That's my identity shifting. That's me looking at my goals and visions for the future of how I want to be with my grandchildren, of how I want to feel about it, how I want to present myself about it, which means I've got to do some work on me. What does legendary Grandpa Gev do? How does he operate? How does he think? How does he spend time with the kids? How does he play with them? How does he do things? What does he do? How is he perceived? Starts off in my mind. Okay. So I need to take the right actions to do that. So whether it's a personal thing or a business thing, you've got to look at the future and say to yourself, well, actually, I need to be a different type of person. Okay. If you're scared, if you're holding yourself back, maybe you've got a bit of anxiety, maybe a bit of stress about what it is, you're trying to do. Maybe that's got to shift. Many of our clients come to us and go, oh, I don't like sales. No, you don't like sales because you're not very good at it. It's not that you're totally rubbish, because if you're in business, you will have customers, you will have sales. At some point, you sold something to somebody. And there's some real tricks and techniques to turn somebody who's really bad at sales into somebody who's really good at sales without too much difficulty. Some basic elements, and I'll probably do a video on that one day, just to show you what it takes to be a good salesman. But it starts with your identity. If you are constantly saying to yourself, I'm rubbish at sales, I hate sales, is that somebody in 5 years' time with all the things that you want really going to be saying? Or are they going to be somebody who says, do you know what, I didn't used to like sales, but I learnt some things and I got good at sales. And because I got good at sales, I was able to achieve the lifestyle that I'm aiming to. So being good at sales might be something that you need to change in your language. Being good with money, being good with budgets, being good with understanding money within your business. Again, another thing that people fall down on because their current identity is, I'm not very good with money. I'm not very good at managing my money. Well, get good at it. That means some education, and that means your identity has got to shift, where you go from somebody who isn't very good with money to somebody that used to be not very good with money, but I've learned some skills where I'm actually really good at money. I actually understand money now, understand my money. So all you need to understand is your money, not the world necessarily. You just need to understand your bit, okay? Because it fits in with your vision. And then obviously take the action to do that. Okay, last one of this 4, and then I'll tell you what this one is, which is a very short one, but very important. Number 4 is what we need to do here is we need to review and reset. Okay. When we sit and make a vision for our plan in the next 5 years, life is going to come at you. You're going to try and shift your identity. The moment you try and shift your identity, the moment you try to talk differently, present yourself in a different way, dress in a different way, other people will notice, other people will criticize, other people will challenge you, either directly or indirectly. And so as we head down this path, what will happen is that you'll drift. You'll be heading off and going, well, I know what I'm going to do today. I know what I'm going to do this week. And you'll go off and do it, and you'll get a bit beaten up along the way, and it won't work, and you'll fail. And you'll skin your knees, and you hurt your hands, and you fall flat on your face sometimes, and it'll go wrong. And sometimes in those moments when we're really tired and we're feeling properly beaten up, and somebody said something, and something else has happened, and something else has gone wrong, you get a little bit of a, fuck my life, it's just hard. This is hard. And then human beings will regress back to the mean. They'll go back to what they're comfortable with. Well, I was comfortable being a bad salesman. I told you I was a crap salesman. Look, here's all the evidence now. I've proven to myself I'm a crap salesman, right? So you've done a review and you've told yourself that you're crap at whatever you're doing. Fine. But we need to reset and shift that identity. Okay, let's go again. Okay, let's go again. And somewhere along the line, it'll change. Whatever it is you're trying to improve, it will shift. Sometimes it takes a long time for it to completely shift. An activity or a habit that we do. Habits are by nature things that we do without thinking. But guess what? Those habits originally were things that we had to work at. So if you clean your teeth several times a day, you probably do that because as a child you were forced to by your parents. Well, when you were forced to as a child, you didn't want to, you fought it, you didn't remember to do it, your parents had to teach you to do it. And after a period of time, somewhere along the line, somewhere between age of 3 and 33, you suddenly realize cleaning my teeth a couple of times a day is good for me. And you just do it, right? And there's lots of little habits that we all have that are good. And of course, there are habits that we have are bad. Why did those habits start? those bad habits that we have, whatever those habits, maybe it's an eating habit or a drinking habit or, whatever, it doesn't really matter. The point is we have to change those habits. And habits are really easy. It's the changing of the habit. This is actually the way all the work's done. And if you really focus on it, you can probably change a habit. Well, you can change it like that. But to make it stick so that it becomes habitual, where you don't have to think about it too much, probably 30, 60, 90 days. Okay, doing something consistent for 90 days. By the end of that 90 days, it'll just become part of your life. It's just the new normal. Okay, so this review and reset is where you actually say to yourself, do you know what, I just want to review the process. I want to review the last week, the last month. How have I got on? Did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I change my identity any sort of way? What did I learn about myself? Did I do the things I said I was going to do in my vision, in my actions? Did I actually do it? I said I was going to do 28 things this month. Have I done all 28 or have I just done 2? Okay, what does that tell you about you as your identity? Okay, so this vision, identity, action and review is my 4-step process. But step number 5 is something that most people struggle with. It's not really step 5, it's really step 0. Okay, stop. Okay, stop is fundamentally an important thing for all business owners. We are conditioned that we need to do more. We are conditioned we need to do things faster. We're conditioned that we need this app and that app and all the rest of it. Go and grab your phone and just tell me how many apps you've got on your phone. Hundreds of apps, from different car parking apps to banking apps to different things that might help you. Press this, do this alarm, do this notification, do this buzzer. Notifications and buzzers and alarms going on and on and on and on and on. Do you know what? Sometimes we need to say no. Sometimes we need to stop all the noise. We need to stop everything that's going on, because the person who's trying to shift their identity needs time to think, time to evaluate, time to review and reset, time to make sure that the right actions you're doing, time to think about who you need to become, time to look at your vision. This stopping exercise is so important. And this is what happens at our quarterly event. Last week, a group of people in this beautiful hotel, they were all talking and thinking, and we were questioning things and making them think and giving them stuff to talk about. We had a lot of fun as well. There's a lot of banter in the room. What many of them didn't realize until the end of the day is that driving into the forest, driving down this through the trees and past the ponies and all the things that the forest presents itself at all different times of years, just driving from home to the event. And for some of those, they stayed overnight at this lovely hotel. That moment of peace, that moment of just stopping, was probably more valuable than the lesson that I taught them. Okay, the stopping bit is so important. So I hope in some way this helps you. If you've got comments, leave them in the link in the comments below, and I'll do what I can to respond and improve if I can improve on this. If you're looking for help and support, if you want to know what about the 90-day, click on the 90-day link. Come and work with us for 90 days. See how it all works. Anyway, see you soon.